If you're over 60 and trying to eat healthy, you've probably heard 100 times that fruit is good for you. But what almost no one talks about is this. Some fruits that seem healthy on the surface can actually make things worse, especially if you're dealing with high blood sugar, insulin resistance, or struggling to lose weight. The truth is, not all fruits are created equal. Some are packed with fiber and antioxidants that support heart health, brain function, and energy. But others, even the ones that sound healthy, can quietly spike your blood sugar, increase inflammation, and leave you feeling more tired than before you ate them. In this video, we're going to go over 3 fruits that seniors should never eat if they're trying to manage blood sugar, protect their brain, or avoid metabolic issues. Then we'll walk through 3 fruits that are not only safer, but can actually help you feel better, stay full longer, and support your long-term health in a meaningful way. And before we go any further, I want to be clear, we're not demonizing fruit. Fruit can absolutely be part of a healthy diet, but when you're over 60, your metabolism changes, your insulin sensitivity starts to drop, your pancreas has to work harder to regulate sugar, and that means you have to get smarter about which fruits are actually helping and which ones are secretly holding you back. Also, real quick, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with the #1 fruit you should avoid if you're over 60 and trying to keep your blood sugar stable. That fruit is grapes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Grapes are small, they're juicy, and they've been called heart healthy because they contain something called resveratrol. But here's the problem. Grapes are basically little sugar bombs in disguise. 1 cup of grapes can have over 20 grams of sugar and barely any fiber to slow it down. That means all that sugar rushes straight into your bloodstream, causing a spike in glucose and a strong insulin response. Now, when you're younger and more insulin sensitive, your body can handle those spikes more easily. But when you're over 60, those spikes become more dangerous. They contribute to inflammation, they wear out your pancreas, and they lead to a roller coaster effect where your blood sugar crashes shortly after, leaving you hungry again, often for more carbs or sweets. What makes grapes especially tricky is how easy they are to overeat. You rarely stop at just 5 or 6 grapes. Most people snack by the handful, and suddenly they've eaten 100 calories of pure sugar without even realizing it. And while we're on the subject, this also applies to raisins, which are just dried grapes. In fact, raisins are even more concentrated in sugar and calories because all the water has been removed. Just 1 small box of raisins contains about the same sugar as a can of soda. That's not an exaggeration, so what should you eat instead? Try swapping grapes for a fruit that's naturally lower in sugar but still refreshing and satisfying. One of the best choices is berries, specifically blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries. These fruits are packed with antioxidants, high in fiber, and much lower on the glycemic index, which means they won't spike your blood sugar the way grapes will. Just half a cup of raspberries, for example, gives you about 4 grams of fiber and only a few grams of sugar. That means it digests more slowly, keeps you full longer, and supports more stable energy. Plus, berries have been shown to improve brain health, reduce inflammation, and support heart function. All major concerns for people over 60. Let's move on to the second fruit you should avoid if you're trying to protect your health after 60. This one surprises a lot of people because it's often marketed as healthy, hydrating, and easy to digest. It's the banana. Bananas are one of the most popular fruits in the world. They're easy to grab on the go, soft to chew, and often recommended for digestion or muscle cramps. But when it comes to blood sugar and insulin control, especially for people over 60, bananas can be a real problem. Here's why. A medium-sized banana contains about 20 to 25 grams of carbohydrates, with the majority coming from sugar. And while it does offer some fiber and potassium, it digests very quickly. That means it can send your blood sugar soaring, especially if you eat it alone, like as a quick breakfast or afternoon snack. For someone dealing with prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, or even just the slower metabolism that comes with aging, that spike can be enough to trigger a whole chain of issues: fatigue, cravings, brain fog, and over time, higher A1C levels, weight gain around the middle, and more difficulty managing energy throughout the day. Now you might be thinking, what if I eat a banana that's not too ripe? Doesn't that lower the sugar? And technically, yes. Greener bananas contain more resistant starch, which is a type of fiber that slows digestion. But here's the catch. Most people don't enjoy eating underripe bananas. They're firm, starchy, and not sweet. So we wait until they ripen, which means the starch turns to sugar, and that's when the problems begin. So what's a better option? Craving something with a soft texture and natural sweetness like a banana? A great alternative is kiwi. Kiwi may be smaller, but it packs a surprising nutritional punch. It's high in vitamin C, loaded with fiber, and much lower in sugar than a ripe banana. And unlike bananas, kiwi actually helps regulate digestion without triggering a massive glucose spike. Some studies even suggest that kiwi can help help reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, both of which become more important as we age. Another excellent alternative is a half of an avocado. Now I know what you're thinking. Avocado isn't sweet, but if you're reaching for a banana out of convenience or for its creamy texture, avocado gives you that same satisfaction with far fewer carbs and a much more blood sugar-friendly profile. It's rich in healthy fats, supports heart and brain function, and helps keep you full for hours. Now let's move to the third fruit on our list, and this one might be the most surprising of all because it's often found in smoothies, wellness bowls, and labeled as a superfood. That fruit is pineapple. Yes, it's tropical. Yes, it tastes amazing, but it's also one of the most sugary fruits you can eat. And when you're over 60, it can quietly undo a lot of the good you're trying to do with your diet. A single cup of chopped pineapple contains over 20 grams of sugar and barely any fiber. That means it digests quickly and enters your bloodstream even faster. And the glycemic index of pineapple is high, meaning it causes a sharp rise in blood glucose compared to other fruits. Many people don't realize that because pineapple tastes fresh and natural, they assume it's automatically healthy. And while it does contain enzymes like bromelain that support digestion, the sugar content makes it risky, especially if you're eating it regularly or blending it into smoothies with other sweet fruits. So what should you eat instead? A fantastic alternative is a small apple, preferably with the skin on. Apples contain natural pectin fiber that slows down sugar absorption, and they're loaded with antioxidants that help protect your cells from. They also have a satisfying crunch that helps reduce snacking urges and support portion control. And here's a simple tip that can make apples even better for blood sugar. Pair them with a healthy fat or protein. A few slices of apple with a small handful of walnuts or almonds can turn a blood sugar spike into a slow, steady energy boost. It balances the meal, supports satiety, and helps your body process the natural sugars more efficiently. Let's take a moment now to really think about what's happening inside the body when you make these swaps. When you remove high sugar fruits like grapes, bananas, and pineapple, and replace them with fruits like berries, kiwi, apples, or even avocado, you're not just lowering your sugar intake, you're calming your entire metabolic system. For seniors, that means less pressure on the pancreas to produce insulin. It means more stable blood sugar levels throughout the day. It means fewer crashes, fewer cravings, and a better shot at maintaining a healthy weight, especially around the belly, which becomes harder to manage after 6. But there's another reason these fruit swaps matter so much, and it has to do with inflammation. As we age, low-level inflammation becomes more common in the body. It's linked to almost every chronic disease: heart disease, diabetes, dementia, arthritis. And what most people don't realize is that sugar, even natural sugar, fuels inflammation when it's not managed properly. That means every time your blood sugar spikes, it's not just affecting your energy, it's lighting a match to your inflammation levels. And over time, that can lead to damage in your blood vessels, your joints, and even your brain. That's why these small dietary choices matter. When you choose a lower sugar, higher fiber fruit, you're not depriving yourself. You're investing in your future. You're protecting your ability to think clearly, move freely, and stay independent as you age. Let's also talk briefly about juice, because for a lot of people over 60, fruit juice is still part of their daily routine, whether it's a glass of orange juice with breakfast or a splash of cranberry juice for urinary health. Here's the truth. Fruit juice is one of the most misleading health foods out there. Even 100% juice with no added sugar is still a concentrated dose of natural sugar, without any of the fiber that slows it down. A single glass of orange juice can have more sugar than a can of cola, and your body treats that sugar the same way. It floods your bloodstream, forces your pancreas to respond quickly, and often leads to a blood sugar crash just a little while later. If you're trying to control your A1C, your weight, or your energy levels, cutting fruit juice out of your routine can be a game changer. Now, I understand sometimes juice is used for specific reasons. Maybe you've been told to drink a little juice to help with digestion or to take certain medications. If that's the case, talk to your doctor. But if it's just a habit or something you reach for out of tradition, it might be time to try something else. Infused water is a great option. Try adding slices of lemon, cucumber, or even a few crushed berries to water. You'll get the flavor without the sugar spike. Herbal teas are another excellent choice. And if you really miss the taste of juice, a splash in a full glass of water can satisfy that craving without overwhelming your system. The point here is not to fear fruit, it's to respect. Fruit can be incredibly healing, but only when it's eaten in the right form, in the right amount, and as part of a balanced lifestyle. Let's take everything we've covered so far and put it into a real-world example, because knowing what not to eat is only half the battle. What really helps is seeing how these choices can fit into a normal, comfortable day. No dieting, no calorie counting, no stress. Let's start with breakfast. This is where a lot of people over 60 accidentally spike their blood sugar. A typical breakfast might include toast, juice, or a banana, but those are all quick carbs that raise glucose rapidly. Instead, let's imagine a better breakfast. You might have a couple of scrambled eggs, half an avocado, and a few berries on the side, maybe blueberries or raspberries. Pair it with black coffee or tea or water with a slice of lemon. That's a meal that's rich in protein, healthy fat, and fiber. It gives you long-lasting energy without the crash, and it keeps your blood sugar steady through the morning. Now for a mid-morning snack. Instead of grabbing a handful of grapes or a sugary granola bar, try a small apple with a tablespoon of almond butter. butter. Fiber from the apple slows digestion, and the healthy fat from the almond butter keeps you full and focused. That snack could carry you all the way to lunch without any dips in energy. At lunchtime, maybe you're having a salad with grilled chicken, olive oil, and a sprinkle of sunflower seeds. And if you want something sweet after the meal, you could have a peeled kiwi. It's refreshing, lower in sugar than most fruits, and won't undo the stable blood sugar you've built all morning. In the afternoon, if you need a little something, try Greek yogurt with a few blackberries mixed in. The yogurt gives you protein and probiotic, and the berries add natural sweetness without a glucose spike. For dinner, let's say you're having baked salmon, steamed broccoli, and some quinoa. And for dessert, because yes, you can have dessert, maybe just a few slices of pear with a handful of walnuts. Again, you're getting flavor, texture, and satisfaction without the crap. And what you'll notice by the end of a day like that is how much better you feel. More steady energy, fewer cravings, better focus, and for many people, better sleep too. These small swaps, choosing berries instead of grapes, kiwi instead of banana, apples instead of pineapple, they're not about restriction. They're about understanding how your body works and giving it what it actually needs. Because once you turn 60, every bite matters just a little more. Your body becomes more sensitive to change. Your metabolism slows, and the choices that were once harmless can start adding up quickly. But here's the good news. It's never too late to make a difference. You can begin lowering your blood sugar, reducing inflammation, and boosting your energy just by making smarter, simpler decisions with your food. So the next time you reach for fruit, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this fruit helping me or working against me? Is it loaded with fiber or just sugar in disguise? When you make the right choices, your body responds, and it responds quickly. If you found this video helpful, please hit the subscribe button. We put out videos just like this every week, designed for real people over 60 who want to take control of their health without the confusion and without the gimmicks. And if you've experienced the difference yourself, if switching out a single fruit helped lower your blood sugar, improve your energy, or helped you lose weight, share your story in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Thanks for watching, and check out the next video on your screen right now. YouTube recommended it to you.